What are some of the constitutional rules for the California state budget? The annual budget bill, as well as the budget bill junior and even budget trailer bills, are governed by specified provisions of the California Constitution. The budget bill junior and budget trailer bills are formally called other bills providing for appropriations related to the budget bill, and the provisions of law related to the state budget are primarily contained in Section 12 of Article 4 of the California Constitution. So let's walk through these major provisions. First, within the first 10 days of each calendar year, the governor is required to submit to the legislature with an explanatory message a budget for the upcoming fiscal year containing itemized statements for recommended state expenditures and estimated state revenues. And although it can be introduced prior to or on January 10th, this initial budget is referred to as the Jan 10 budget. Second, the budget is required to be accompanied by a budget bill itemizing recommended expenditures. And the governor, through the Department of Finance, prepares the budget and line item expenditures along with these explanatory materials. And often there's draft trailer bill language for the governor's proposed trailer bills. The third item is that the budget bill is required to be introduced immediately in each house by the chairs of the two budget committees, regardless of whether they're of the same political party as the governor, or even if they agree with all or none of the budget proposal. The chair of the Assembly Committee on Budget and the chair of the Senate Committee on Budget and Fiscal Review both introduced the governor's Jan 10 budget proposal, and thereafter the Assembly and Senate may amend the governor's budget proposals as they deem appropriate. The fourth item is that the legislature is required to pass the budget bill by midnight on June 15th of each year. Only the budget bill itself must be passed by that deadline. There's no requirement for the budget bill junior or any of the budget trailer bills to pass by June 15th. Moreover, the governor is not required to sign the budget by June 15th. The only requirement is for the legislature to pass it. Fifth, until the budget bill has been enacted, the legislature is prohibited from sending to the governor for his or her consideration any bills that appropriate funds for expenditures during the fiscal year for which the budget bill is to be enacted, except designated emergency bills that have been recommended by the governor or appropriations for the salaries and expenses of the legislature. Now, the governor will make a statement that he or she is recommending a particular bill as an emergency bill that should be considered prior to the enactment of the budget. Sixth, no bill except the budget bill or the budget bill junior may contain more than one item of appropriation. The budget bill and the budget bill junior contain multiple items of appropriation. Budget trailer bills and other appropriations bills do not contain more than one item of appropriation. The seventh item is that appropriations from the general fund, except appropriations for the public schools and appropriations that are contained in the budget bill and these other bills providing for appropriations related to the budget bill, are void unless they're passed in each house by roll call vote entered in the journal with 2/3 of the membership of the Assembly and Senate concurring. So as a general rule, all bills that appropriate monies from the state's general fund require a 2/3 vote in both houses of the legislature in order to pass. There are two exceptions, meaning two instances where just a majority vote is required for appropriations from the state's general fund. The first is for public school funding, and the second is for the budget bill junior, and any budget trailer bills, so long as they contain an appropriation related to the budget bill. The eighth item is, notwithstanding any other provision of statute or the Constitution, the budget bill and these other bills providing for appropriations related to the budget bill may be passed in each house by roll call vote entered in the daily journal with just a majority of the membership concurring. And those measures, once enacted, that is signed into law by the governor, take effect immediately, or they can have a specified operative date, but they are effective immediately. And this section of the Constitution specifies that the budget bill and all related bills require just a majority vote of both houses. Now, for purposes of this section, section 12 of Article 4, the phrase other bills providing for appropriations related to the budget bill are requirements to consist of bills identified as related to the budget in the actual budget bill passed by the legislature. This means that the annual budget bill enacted each year actually has a section towards the end of the budget bill that identifies by bill number all of the budget related bills for that particular year. The ninth item is the legislature may control the submission, approval, and enforcement of budgets and the filing of claims for all of the state agencies. The 10th item is that the legislature may not send to the governor for consideration, nor may the governor sign into law a budget bill that would appropriate from the general fund when combined with all appropriations for the general fund for the fiscal year, any amount and other amounts transferred can exceed general fund revenues for that fiscal year that is based on an estimate as of the date of the budget bill's passage. In other words, the legislature has to pass a balanced budget. And the actual estimate of general fund revenues has to be set forth in the budget bill that's passed by the legislature and sent to the governor. Now, note that the legislature is prohibited from sending the governor, and the governor is actually prohibited from signing a budget bill that's not balanced, at least on paper. In addition, the estimate of revenues anticipated being received must be contained in that budget bill. The 11th and final item in terms of constitutional rules for the budget is that notwithstanding any other provision of law, in any year in which the budget bill is not passed by the legislature by midnight on June 15th, there cannot be any appropriation from the current budget or a future budget to pay salaries or reimburse travel or living expenses for members of the legislature from midnight on June 15th until the day that the budget bill has actually been presented to the governor. And no salary or reimbursement for travel or living expenses that has been lost or forfeited can be paid back retroactively.